Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another of our mostly weekly hangouts here on the Mod Zoo. This week we're going to be delving into a bit of the history of modding in general and water cooling specifically. We've got Dennis Leach from the years long past Danger Den. That was a name that a lot of people just when they wanted quality, when they wanted to show off on their stuff, they would contact Danger Den and they would get some of that equipment. And so many people knew the name. They knew exactly what they were going to get right out of the door without even having to think about it. With me this week, as usual, I've got Bill Owen.
Hey, everybody. Good to be back.
And another one of our longtime favorites, Alex, also known as Petra.
Hey, everyone. I'm not in a closet this week.
Woo! And Bill, you want to introduce the special guest of the week?
Well, we've got a guest here that is a legend to this hobby. And the cool thing about Dennis is that he's very humble, but I think this is going to be one of my favorite hangouts already. Just talking to Dennis the 20 minutes leading up to before the live stream. We're going to delve into some stories, some history about Danger Den. Really, this is really what the hangout is all about for us, is tapping into these people that made major landmarks in this hobby. So Dennis, it's great to finally track you down and get you in the hangout. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
So the big question is, what year did Danger Den start, and how did it start?
2000. Started in 2000. We were talking about it a little bit before that in 99, but it was just myself and Jeremy Burnett and Dan Stevens. That's where the name came from, too. It was just Dan, Jeremy, Dennis, so Danger Den. That's how the name came up. But we all worked at a paper mill in Oregon together, and we were overclocking computers, and I was messing around with the water cooling. And back at the time, people were just drilling holes through pieces of copper and plugging them. So that's kind of how we started, and we came up with we never even meant to make Danger Den. We were, like we were talking earlier, we were kind of kicking around the idea of having a review website, reviewing products and stuff, but we decided to pay for it by building a couple water blocks, and that's how we started.
And now you closed your doors in 2012, and what was the reason behind that?
Yeah, many reasons. So the main one was my wife passed away, and she ran the shop because none of us did. There's actually, at the end, 4 partners, but none of us worked at the company full time. We still all had jobs. And my wife ran Danger Den, the day-to-day business at the shop, and she passed away suddenly. And we just sat down and told the guys that we got to shut down, can't run it.
Yeah,
so
that's understandable.
There were other reasons. We were spiraling down at the time. I mean, it really was a business run by committee. Everybody had their different ideas of what they wanted to do, and it was just getting tough anyway. So
it was spiraling down. I mean, it was just because of internal reasons, not sales or anything.
Yeah, well, it is sales. Some of it's sales because the product turns over fast enough, and if we don't get a new video card comes out, and if we don't immediately have the new water block to go on it, and the other guys, everybody's jumping on it, and the blocks are changing so often. You're coming up with new designs all the time, and so I don't feel with the GPU side we were keeping up, but with the CPU side we weren't changing fast enough. And so things were spiraling down anyway. But when my wife passed away, then we just that was it.
Yeah, in the dialogue that I had with Jeremy on and off, he'd often tell me that the correspondence with the manufacturers in regards to the CPUs and video card changes was a full-time job in itself. He was always consumed with that.
Oh yeah, he was, and he eventually we all, like I said, we all worked at the same place, and eventually he quit the mill and worked full time for us. But then towards the end, he had taken another full-time job, and so he was doing it on the side also at the end. And so, which made it tough, is we had nobody there full-time except for my wife running the day-to-day stuff at the shop. So that was when it finally came to a head and it all shut down. So
Now, this is what's interesting about where you're from in Portland, Oregon. It's kind of like always been the hotbed for this hobby. Why is that? I mean, you've got all these great companies that have come out of it. You've got PDX Land, which is the land to go to if you're into custom PC building and modding and liquid cooling. What makes that place so special?
It's just a combination of the right people in the area, you know, and it's not like I mean, like, you're in the Midwest, you've got things going on, you've got lands and stuff, but well, you know, that's true, because I've been back to the Midwest, and I've even been down to around San Francisco, and even the lands down there are not the same as PDX. Yeah. I go even to PAX up in Seattle, the land up there is not what PDX land is, you know, and I don't know exactly why PDX land is what it is. But I can't say enough about Matt. He does a great job. And, you know, it is weird. You know, you go in there and you see so many modded computers. It's just ridiculous, you know, and not everybody's trying to win the custom case competition, which is a big deal there. You know, yeah. CPU Magazine goes to every PDX LAN, and every time they go, you're going to get a cover out of that LAN. Yes. You know, and if you win that one, you're going to be on the cover, which was a big deal for a lot of people. They were shooting for that cover shot, you know. So I got to give props to CPU Magazine, because they, you know, everybody's trying for that. You know, I want to be on that cover.
Yeah, I've always equated PDX LAN as like the SEMA show in Vegas. You know, each year we've got the custom cars that are there for the manufacturers. Now, when you started out, who were your rival competitors at the time? Like, and this is right around 2000.
Yeah, you know, we were talking earlier, and the one guy, I can't remember. You know, I remember BE Cooling was there. I can't remember what the other one was. There was only a couple really back then.
Maybe somebody in our chat may know. Somebody in the early 2000s was a liquid cooling block maker, and you said they were using aluminum primarily?
No, he was doing most of it. When we came in, nobody made a block that had machine grooves or anything in it. They were taking a chunk of copper and they were literally drilling holes through it and then plugging all the holes except for two, and then that's what they were doing. And so they were literally just drilling, you know, taking a 1/2-inch thick piece of copper and drilling 3/8 holes through it, and plugging it, and tapping them and plugging them. And they'd only leave two, an inlet and an outlet, you know, and that's how water blocks were made until we come along with the Maze 1, I guess it was.
Oh yeah, the Maze. And how that was a good run for the Maze. Were you still making the Maze when you closed your doors, or?
Well, occasionally we still had all the programming and stuff on the CNC machine, so we could have gone out and so we did make a few of them when people would ask, but nobody wanted the Maze 1 at the end there. You know, there was all kinds of other ones between the Maze 1 and the Maze whatever it is. M6, I think, was the last one we did. So.
Oh, you know, and I'm looking in Google Images right now, and look at this history here. I mean, is this officially the first one?
No, first one. The first one.
That's the Maze 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the Maze 1 had a copper top and it was soldered on. And we actually did it.
That's Maze 4.
Remember, I was a millwright by trade, and so they used to let us use all the equipment down at the mill after work and stuff, the machines and stuff, and that's where I started actually building the water blocks for Jeremy and Dan and me. Was down at work, you know. And we actually, when we did the Maze 1, it was just a square block, 2 inches square, had like 4 passes through it with a mill, and we soldered on a top. It was built like that one that's up right now, but that one was for the AMD 64, I think that one was. But we we put a hydraulic pump on the dang thing after we soldered the top on. We wanted to see how much water pressure it would take. Well, I hooked a hydraulic pump onto the Maze 1 when we first built one, and we just kept pumping on the pump. We had a gauge on it, and I think it went to like 1,200 psi before it blew the top off.
Oh, that's good.
But
Painter
that was,
or plumber's tape too. Is that a little bit of plumber's tape I'm seeing there?
yeah, that was plumber's tape. That was the basic old. That was the. I think that's the Maze 2 you're looking at. The Maze 1 was square.
May not be in.
There it is, right there.
Which one here?
The little picture. Let's see, 2 rows behind the big one you got open, and to the right, third one over from the right. See the purple, black, and that's the Maze 1 right there.
Okay, am I weird? But is that still sexy? I think it is.
Well, at the time, it was the sexiest thing going.
I mean, look at those channels, dude.
You said sexy, not me. I just repeated what you said.
I want to throw in, I remember all of the forums around this time when everyone moved from that drill through technique that you were describing earlier, and discussions that we would have about, what kind of patterns do you want to use? What kind of turbulence are you looking to throw up? Do you want to just have a high concentration of pins for the water to splash against? Or do you want to have the well-defined flow patterns? And it was the intent, the discussions would get very intense.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And everybody had their opinion, too.
Oh,
and by God, you get on the forums. See, I used to get on the forums a lot and just look. And we had generally, when Danger Den, when we started at the beginning, we'd get on the forums, we'd read them all, but the general rule was we never posted on forums, because you can't get in those discussions with people because you're going to be wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, we did years ago when we did this Modmen series, we made our own CPU water block. It was very similar design to this. And then there was all these people like, that'll never work. What do you look at these clowns? I'm like, what do you mean? It serves as basic. It's just basic cooling. It's going to work. It's just, there's always the couch potato experts, I guess, on everything.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Look at this one. This is sweet.
Yeah, the problem with that one you're looking at, you see what you're looking at there? That top, anodized, right?
Mm-hmm.
That part's aluminum.
It's aluminum. Shame on you,
That was
Dennis.
a huge no-no.
Yeah, it was.
Except it's anodized.
Right.
So if you had it anodized on the underside, it never touched the aluminum. So.
Yeah. Alex, what was the first time you discovered Danger Den, Alex?
Oh boy. My first experience with Danger Den was probably right around just in between the transition between the Maze 2 and the Maze 3. Okay, that looks weird there, Bill. Yeah, probably right around the transition between the Maze 2 and Maze 3 was my first experience with Danger Den. And it was that was still very much early in the days of water cooling. I mean, you still had people who were, even at that point, using the cross drill technique to make blocks. You had people doing what was that one, the rotor block, I think it was called. The design where the guys would just essentially use a drill press to drill a grid of blind dimples, and then would link them by grinding them together with a Dremel cutoff wheel. And
yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, so it's around that time.
Dennis, I don't know. I heard a rumor that, this is crazy, that Danger Den was making parts for airplanes.
Oh yeah, we were.
Okay.
when we let's see. Okay, Rock, the partner we brought in about 3 years into it, he actually worked for a place in Woodland, Washington, which is between here and Portland, and they were called Lifeport, and so they modify helicopters for air ambulances, and so we actually set up when we were getting bigger, and then Rock came on and she said, well, let's continue making some parts for Lifeport. And so we actually set up a shop down in Woodland, Washington too, and that's where we bought all our big CNC equipment. We put it in that shop. We still had our little shop up here in Napa, and so we started making helicopter parts too, or just the interior stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so we were actually making a lot of stuff for the interiors of aircrafts for them. But then we were still growing at the time, and eventually we just, okay, we don't have time to do your guys' stuff. So we just told them, sorry, they had a lot of other machine shops they were going to. We just, we're one of them, and we eventually told them, now we're too busy making our own stuff. And so we just, and then we shut that shop down and brought all the equipment back to Napa, which is that. Now we're not in Portland. You said Portland, but we're actually out by the coast. There's a little town called Astoria, but Napa is actually 15 miles out of town, middle of nowhere, blinking yellow light, trees all around. We're out in the middle of nowhere. But so we brought all our big equipment. We built another shop by our little one up in Napa, and so we had a really old crappy shop, and then we had a new shop, and all our big equipment was in there. We brought it all back to Napa. So
when you first launched Danger Den and you're making water blocks, what was your shop equipment at that time?
It was the place where I worked. They used to let us after work do personal projects, and so that's where I started making water blocks, was at my work. And then so eventually we said, okay, we can't keep doing this, and so we bought crappy little Chinese Enco used mill, and we threw it in my garage, and for 17 months we were working out of my garage. And so
wow. Well, that must have been nice, because you could get all the material right there from your employer and then use their equipment. So it was almost pure profit, right?
Yeah, kind of.
That's a great way to start.
That was just a couple of months, and we weren't making hardly. I mean, you got to remember, but at the time, a huge run was like 10 blocks or something like that.
Boy, they took a lot of time to mill. I mean,
yeah, they did. It's all by hand, just cranking on the milling machine by hand.
Yeah.
I think it was about, so we went and bought a cheapo Chinese mill and put it in my garage, and we were using that for about 4 or 5 more months. And I think about a year into it, we said, we can't keep doing this. And so we bought a big Acer knee mill with Analam controls on it. And so we said, oh, cool, we've got a CNC machine now. Yeah. And so we had that in my garage. And then about the 17-month mark, we finally moved out of my garage and into this little hole of a shop up in Napa. But it was cheap,
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we stayed, is right there.
Now, when you guys were making these water blocks, were you also doing extensive testing, like R&D? Did you have like your own mini R&D department where you had rigs running and swap out the blocks and stuff like that?
Yeah, but it was all our own personal stuff. We were running it, doing everything on our own. So we had stuff set up. It was just basic stuff at the time, just basically temperature tests. Hey, what can we do? Change this, get the temperature lowered. Kind of like everybody else at the time. We really were just the same as everybody else. We were just enthusiasts, and we just started building water blocks, and so it just grew from there. And we weren't like you see all the acrylic tops. It was a couple years before we said, hey, let's put acrylic tops on these, because
you were the first.
They don't need to hold that much pressure, because
right.
What are we really talking about? We're talking about 2-3 psi on a fish tank water pump. Back at the time, everybody was using heater cores, not radiators for computers. Nobody had come out yet with like Hardware Labs or anybody with a real radiator built specifically. So we were all using heater cores. So for the longest time, everybody was just using a heater core, and we were selling lots of heater cores too.
Oh yeah, and then you became like you started a good relationship with speaking of Hardware Labs, Willie Wilbert, and you were like his main retailer in the U.S. for his radiators.
We were okay. Yeah. We were talking earlier about. I was trying to remember that first site. The first site that we were competitors with, they were the North American distributor for this stuff first, I wish I could remember that site. But yeah, we were the North American distributor for all of Hardware Labs radiators. They would come to us, and we'd ship them out to everybody.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I met Willie. He came here to Minnesota because he was working with Hardcore Computers here in Rochester, Minnesota. They were making that liquid submerged gaming computer, and they were using Hardware Labs radiators for it. And I had met Willie here, and he was from here. He was going there because Jeremy had just had their first kid.
Oh yeah, Jeremy, yeah, Willie, probably about twice a year he'd come up. We'd all go out to dinner and stuff. It was great fun when Willie came up. But yeah, we dealt with Hardware Labs for a long time.
Now, also heard this other rumor recently about something about you guys made a water block that looked like a penis.
I have no knowledge of what you're talking about. Would you turn that Google thing off, by the way?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up because we are getting requests from the peanut gallery. You know, show the dong block, show the dong block.
Okay, what is the name of the dong block?
It's that black one. It's that black one at the top there. Yeah, that one. I disavow any knowledge. It was not my design. It had nothing to do with it. That was all rock.
Okay.
The good thing about water blocks for video cards is the next card was coming out so fast that thing didn't last very long.
Yeah, boy.
If I remember right, that was one of those dual GPU AMD cards, I think, if I remember correctly.
Did he design any other products after that?
Rock did all the video card blocks.
Okay.
He was he basically handled all the video card stuff.
It looks more like Santa's boot from like a kindergarten drawing.
That's not what they said on the internet.
Well, yeah. Do you remember RR Tech Forums? That guy?
Yeah, Real Red Raider.
Yeah. What was your experience with them?
My experience.
Alex, stop it.
Okay, so this is what, and I said this earlier. We had a policy at Danger Den not to comment on any forums.
Don't interact.
Talking. But I used to go to RR Tech and remember I used to have the scrolling conversations, and I used to go and I'd watch those and I'd laugh my butt off. And then Richard, Darth Beavis, and he got in there too eventually. And I just sit there and I'd watch those conversations and I just laugh. And I'd want to comment all the time on everything, but I just sat back and I just watched the conversations and not say nothing.
Mick from Mayhem's, he made a good point about that chat window. Is that if your business was mentioned in there, then you're being nailed by those guys. Is that you're successful? That if you're in their chat and they're talking about you, then you are successful.
Yeah, I saw a lot of chats in there about us. They didn't like us very much for some reason.
They didn't like a lot of people. Alex will validate that.
They didn't like most people. Let's just say that.
Or it was one person that didn't like most people, generating all the hate.
Yeah, well, it's kind of tough when he owns the place.
Alex, speaking of the chat, I haven't watched it. Do we have any questions for Dennis in there?
Well, let's see. We've got Richard chanting about the dong block.
Tell Richard, shut up. It wasn't my block.
Oh, he heard you.
Dr. Rock.
Let's see. We do have Bungwire's asking about when the conversion to G1 quarter occurred.
Oh.
Ooh. This is a history thing again, but I'm thinking, let's see, we went from 2000 to 2012, and I'm going to guess about, it was right after we got the lasers and started doing the acrylic tops. So I'm going to guess about 2004-ish.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, we knew because there's a problem. When we first started doing the acrylic, it was probably like 1/8-inch pipe tap is what we were using at the time. But when you put that into acrylic, because pipe thread expands against the outside, and that's how it seals.
Yeah, it's a tapered thread.
put too much stress on the acrylic and would crack, and so we had to go to something different. And I'm not going to claim that we started using it first, but that's about when we started using it, and I can't remember where we found it, but we go, okay, this won't put any stress on the acrylic, and that's when we started using that thread. And now it's just an industry standard now. So, but I'm not claiming we started that first because, frankly, I can't remember.
This is something I want to ask you about. It's in regards. I got a little confused as a spectator, and I'm going to share something here if I can share it. It's regards to those reservoirs that you guys were making that were like. It was a entirely new design that Coolants also was doing and Monsoon was doing. It was the 5 1/4 bay acetyl milled reservoirs. Who was the first to do that? Do you know which ones I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The Monsoon. It was the Danger Den Monsoon.
Yeah, but see, Monsoon's not us. That was
Gino.
What's his name? Gino. Yeah, down in Texas, and we were working with him, and basically we were his outlet to sell that stuff. And so he came up. That was his reservoir, and I liked it, but we were selling it for him, and we worked with him a lot on it. I thought they were really cool at the time,
Yeah,
but
I love them.
But I can't. That's a history thing. Who came up with that first? It really was Gino's design, not ours. But we were working with him to sell them for him. So that was not our design. The tube one, we started that one too. God, I can't remember what we called that thing. We'd use that acrylic tube and we'd cut it and put flanges on. Yeah, that's the Monsoon right there. It's a great reservoir. I've still got a couple laying around the shop.
I love them, especially when you the version where you can put two D5s on it. You can have separate separate reservoirs in one unit. It's really great for saving space. So in my opinion, when this design came out, it really revolutionized reservoir design because we were so stuck with either the cylinders or the little bay reservoirs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which were a pain. The bay reservoirs were a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I had a couple that were cracked. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, you didn't. Yeah, I seen them crack too. Let's just leave it at that.
Oh yeah, it was no big deal. I remember you had sponsored a build that I had done with the Pimp Rig guys, pimprig.com guys.
Yep.
And we had gotten 5 1/4 bay reservoir, and it leaked, and we just said, hey, just send a replacement. And what was really cool about Danger Den at the time is that you guys were really cool about working with modders and builders and sponsoring them.
Yeah, well, that's how you get. I mean, it goes back to that was our advertising. We never spent a dime on advertising, so getting out on the forums and giving stuff away to guys and that was our advertising. Now, the bad part of that, like we were always getting hounded by CPU Magazine. I love those guys, I really did. They were hounding us all the time to, hey, you guys need advertising. You need to take out advertising. But every 5th cover was one of our customers with our cases right there on the cover, and so
that's right.
Justify buying advertising when every 5th cover was one of our cases sitting there, and I was going, oh, this is silly, and I felt bad about the thing, but we never really had any kind of budget at all for advertising. It was all word of mouth forums and giving stuff to modders and that kind of stuff.
I can agree with that. I mean, and the thing is, it's a niche market. And these guys have big followings, and even Darth too. When you do builds, it helps sell product just because he's got his stuff out there and people see it. Mm-hmm. So I could totally understand it. And I mean, $3,000 for what, like a half a page ad in 1 month. I mean, that's a big chunk of money.
I seem to recall the $7,500, but I seem to recall.
Well, they've had to, the industry they've lowered their prices now, Dennis, because.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but
I seem to remember the $7,500 price we were always getting quoted, and we were going, I don't think so. We can't. And it really wasn't. Everybody, just my perception is everybody thought this industry is a big industry, and we were this big company, but we're literally just this little tiny outfit in nowhere in Oregon, and we did have 8 or 9 or 10 people working for us at one point, but a lot of it was our kids and stuff. So we were never this big company that it was my impression that people always thought we were. We were not a big company.
That was, I think, the same impression that people had of a lot of the companies in the industry. I mean, people thought that PTS was way bigger than it really was. People think that, pretty much all of the online retailers are bigger than they really were.
Yeah.
The specialty mod shops are all really tiny.
And I'm rich. I'm a millionaire. And Bill,
why
do you drive such an old car, Bill? I thought you had money. Yeah. By the way, in the chat, so we've got Darth Beavis in there, and he says, ask Dennis about Primo Chill. Primo Chill and Danger Den were mortal enemies.
No comment.
No comment?
Oh, come on. Richard. He just wants to see you burn some bridges.
Yeah. You just put his little face up here and bring him up here.
Well, I could send him an invite if you want me to bring him in.
Bring him in.
You want me to bring him in? Okay, Rich, I'll send you an invite via private message through Twitter. I'll bring him in here, and then you can bring up some of the stuff.
I want to ask him where he got all that meat that he came to my shop with, and we barbecued on Saturdays. But where did that really come from?
What I find intriguing in regards to Danger Den is, which we haven't touched on, is the acrylic cases that you were designing and making. They're really cool.
Oh yeah, that was totally an extension of the tops when we started. We bought I don't know if you can see it. Hold on just a second. Which direction am I going? There it is right there. You see that? This. We bought that laser right there to start our the tops with when we started doing the acrylic tops, and we were going, what else can we make with this thing? So that's when we started making the acrylic cases. And we really didn't plan on making cases either. It's just something that, we got this laser, and then we got that big laser over there, and things just went from there.
Last weekend we had Ben Rising from Mountain Mods on, and I know doesn't Ben sell some of your product, or he did?
Yeah, we used to make stuff, and he'd sell it. I can't remember what we sold to him.
I think it was water blocks, if I'm not mistaken. Or
yeah, we used to deal with him all the time. I remember when we first started business, we gave him a bunch of stuff, and he gave us some of those big giant UFO cases. And then we took those to PDX Land one time. Because those cases under that desk at PDX Land, it was I think they give you 36 inches of space during the big lands, and that case was 24 inches, and yeah, it got cumbersome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, did you have some questions for Dennis you wanted to ask?
Man.
Oh.
That's just, no, you're back, Bill. Don't worry. Well, I've talked with most of the guys at Danger Den. I think at some point I have talked to Dennis. It's been a long time, though. Although one thing that does pop in my head since we were talking about G1 quarter fittings a little while ago is, who's to blame for the Perfect Seal fittings?
Perfect Seal. Which
Alrighty.
Remind me again, because
those were the ones with the very, very large outer diameter that were really hard to put tubing on. That worked better as tubing plugs.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. We're going to go with Rock on that one. Rock's fault.
Fair.
Totally blame Rock.
That's a bold name. Perfect. Never put perfect in a product description, ever.
Yeah, well. Fittings were tough because eventually we had bought in a big CNC lathe, and we were cranking out our own fittings for the longest time, and it eventually it was cheaper we designed the fitting, and we some Chinese outfit would get us the fitting cheaper than we could go buy the brass and make the fitting.
Yeah.
You know, and it just so fittings were a thing you just had to deal with. Everybody had their different idea what they wanted, and then things were changing. You know, the monsoon fittings came out. You know, and we were selling those, and people liked them, but they still needed change. Things evolved. They've gotten better now. You know, I like the clear hard tubing. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Have you worked with PTG tubing yet?
Just a little bit. I haven't done a lot with it. Richard's come up and played with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He came up, and when we were building, I think last February, PDX LAN, they had a charity build off, and Richard and Travis were building a computer, and me and my son were building a computer, and a couple of the other guys you've had on were building. That's when that The Witcher, I think The Witcher won that one.
Oh yeah, yep. That guy's pretty. What's his? I can't remember that guy's name, but yeah, he's really good at molding and crafting. 3D stuff.
I will say this: we got third place. It was the CPU guys come up and they judged that contest, and me and my son built one they called the Moon or whatever, Wolf Moon, and so we built that case, and CPU judged us third place in that contest. It was kind of cool, but at the end of the contest, all the computers were put in the raffle for the charity build last February. And so we didn't win the cover or nothing when The Witcher won it, but our computer made the most money, so we had the popular vote.
Oh, and here's Richard joining us. You need to unmute yourself, Rich.
He doesn't know how to do that.
Richard kept yelling in the chat, Bren, your son Bren?
Hey, wait a minute. Bren is at PDX LAN. How come Richard's not?
Yeah, I don't know. He's into cosplay. Ask him about his cosplay stuff he's doing now.
Oh, yeah. I see a computer sitting there, but I don't see Richard at all.
Yeah. Dennis, okay, these acrylic cases, do you still have like inventory of those cases?
We never had inventory. We built them. We built them when someone ordered it. We would build it right then. We had inventory of acrylic over in the rack. We just keep the acrylic, and somebody ordered a case, and the next day we were cutting it and putting it together and shipping it. And that's why they were all custom. Everybody wanted something different. They wanted something etched, something changed. They wanted a different reservoir. So really, you know, it was hard to keep inventory of those because everybody wanted a little bit different. And because, you know, the laser thinks it's a printer, we just go out and make a couple changes and print a custom case for somebody.
Rich says he has no camera. Rich doesn't have.
How are we going to appreciate Richard's new magical schoolgirl outfit if he doesn't have a camera?
Oh wow! So is Bren kind of carried on your creative talents and skills in custom building PCs?
Oh Dennis? Yeah, he does stuff. I mean, he's into blacksmithing now. He's building knives and stuff like that, and he'll make some nefarious stuff with his skills. He was making AR-15 lowers just for fun on the mill, and he was doing all kinds of weird stuff.
First step blacksmithing, next step case smithing.
Yeah, the laser, you know, his leather work, because he was building gun holsters and stuff, and so he'd use the laser and cut everything out and then put it all together and making knife sheaths for his knives. But he's a pretty creative kid.
Mentioned we were talking about Gino, and Gino went on to start Monsoon liquid cooling products, which is doing very, very well. And I would say him and Primo Cho are like competing for their position in the market. And then of course we've got EK Coolants and heat killer and that. But did Gino do other type of product designs for Danger Den?
No, he did. I mean, he did the monsoon reservoir. He did the fittings, but those really those weren't. I mean, I know we labeled them as Danger Den, but those were his. They were good designs. He made good fittings. His reservoirs were great. I liked them. I really liked the reservoirs. Those were, but those.
Have you seen his new ones? His modular reservoirs he has now?
I might have seen the initial drawings years ago because he always had that modular thing was he always wanted to get to, and he'd ship hey, look at this image, look at that image, and he'd go crazy with SolidWorks drawing stuff. And
yeah, he's always been an engineer. Yeah, and I'd like to have him in a future hangout too, and so we could touch on some of this history with him. Now, there was a rumor for a while, this maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that Danger Den was going to return.
Well,
I feel like part of that is just because you guys left your site up.
Yes, no. Well, see, we didn't leave it up. In the end, I don't even know if I'm supposed to mention who we sold the name, and it was to one of our friends.
I think I know who.
Okay, yeah, you probably know who.
Because he's been updating the Danger Den fan page with his own products.
Yeah, okay, maybe. So if you know who, it's not a secret. But see, his intention was he always wanted to have his own, line of blocks. And so when we went out, he at the time he thought that would be, I could just step in and make it, basically the Danger Den 2, but I noticed even the web page now has dropped. So it's been long enough. I don't think he's going to use it now, but I wouldn't think it because it's been so long now. It just really doesn't. It really doesn't have a place anymore.
Yeah, but you've been moonlighting, right?
Yeah. That's just something we did just to for people that know us. If they still want a case, we can still make cases and stuff.
We've got to share it though for everybody, Dennis.
But we have not been keeping up on that website. We've got a couple of cases, new ones we've built since then, and they're not even up there. So
you can't order anything from it?
No, yeah, you can order.
All right,
but you can't see any of the new cases. We haven't put them up there yet.
For some reason, and I'm sure you guys are thankful, my screen share stopped working. I don't know why, but if one of you could kindly pull up moonlightmods.com so our audience can see this other store that Dennis launched. And I love these cases. And it's great to see that you're still making them.
Yeah, we still make them when anybody wants one. But we don't do any promoting of the site and stuff yet.
Just word of mouth.
Yeah, it's just been, and we haven't even posted nothing on the site for a long time.
Oh, we've
been remiss in not doing that, but those were basically the Q series stuff. We were at towards the end of Danger Den, we had the line that were the Q series, and the basic reason we came up with the Q series is the colored acrylic is really hard to get now in the thicker sizes.
Yeah, that's right.
When we were building the acrylic cases, we were using 3/8 acrylic, and which was thicker than anybody was using. And our cases were actually really strong, and we used to test it by standing on them. But the colors were really hard to get because nobody uses colored 3/8 thick colors. The sign makers always use 1/4 and 1/8 inch and stuff like that. And so I came up with the Q series, which uses 3/8 black for the frame parts in the front and the back, and then we were putting the colors on the top and bottom, and you could use 1/4 inch colors, so that way we could give them colors again. But that was, that the Qs I think come out in like 2011, and we'd only lasted another year. So the Q series cases really never. That one on the bottom, that was the old Big O Origins.
The Big O, and that's Richard built one for Origin. Yeah. And that got a huge amount of publicity. I remember that. Yeah. Drew, go to the store link at the very top, and let's see. So is the Q series the most popular design, Dennis?
No, it was the latest, the most
okay.
popular of all. I think the regular old double wides we made of the original, those were the most popular. We sold more of those double wides than anything. The Qs are just what came were the newest ones before we closed, and so we wanted to still continue making, and we can still make any of the old cases. I've still got all the old customer drawings. If we had a custom case that we built for somebody and they broke apart, we could still make that part for them.
How long of a turnaround after ordering?
If the plastic's in the shop, we can. If they order it today, we'll start cutting it tomorrow.
As I really like the Q series, and you can order like what color combination, any kind of color combinations too.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the frames were black. We were building a few of them. We built out of white, but white acrylic and the 3/8 thick is like, if I remember correctly, the last time I bought a sheet of white, it's like $550 for a sheet of it.
Yeah.
So it was hugely expensive to build them out of white.
Mm-hmm.
And
the benefit is of going with one of these is that you can fit like a 360 in the front radiator, or what was the typical radiator configuration of this design?
Typical would be a 360.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of those, like on the Tower 29, some of them I put 4 radiators in some of those just for fun. Mm-hmm. I built one once for Asus that had that remember that expander card they came out with, so you could put 4 video card, 4 480s, I think. So I took a Tower 29 and it had the offset for the expander card, and then you could put 4 video cards in those things. So
I like the name bipolar for a case.
that had the clear. It was the clear sides.
Oh, I thought it may have been inspired by somebody you knew.
No.
I have some friends that are bipolar. Yeah, this is cool, man. It's tempting. I mean, and then you can also do laser etching, so you can do like logo designs and stuff.
Oh yeah. We could, the laser literally thinks it's a printer. So when you're cutting out the windows, you just want to do any etching, you just throw it on the window.
Now, Alex here, he's getting back into the business, and he is going to, if I'm not mistaken, unless he's going to do this whole NDA thing again, you're going to offer cases, aren't you, Alex?
Well, that is one direction that I'm planning on going in. And actually, as an update on that, it has finally cleared customs.
He got a laser, Dennis. He got a
It's not here yet, though. It's not here. Almost. It's sitting in a warehouse at the Port of Los Angeles.
Is it, Alex, look behind me. Is it 100 inches long, 50 inches wide?
Not quite.
Nobody.
1,300 by 900 millimeter.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's still pretty good size.
Yeah.
Not quite that big.
Well, I'll tell you, doing it again, we got this big kern sitting here behind me, and that's the one we were building on all the big cases when Danger Den was shut, when we were, before we shut down. That was our newest one, and I bought it from Danger Den. That was the one thing I'd love to have when we shut the place down, was that, and so that was part of what I bought from Danger Den. So,
Drew, were you going to say something?
Yeah, Alex, that's assuming you still haven't gotten that crate full of rocks instead of the laser.
yeah, that's possible too.
And the broken glass tubes. Hey, they warranty all that stuff now. If they show up broken, they'll send you another one.
Yeah, I know.
Another 3 months. Yeah.
Something like that. That is one of the nice things about being there when a business closes down as an owner is, you can kind of take your pick of what toys you want to keep.
Yeah, well, in my case, I got most of them. I've got, I could literally, if I had any ambition, I could go over there and start building water blocks again, but I don't.
Yeah,
not
that's
for that.
A lot of time. Yeah, I've thought about that too, because I've got the resources to do that, but I don't know. That's, again, a full-time job in itself, doing that. But Dennis, do you have any advice for anybody out there that's maybe considering getting into this business, like starting from the garage? And
yeah, you do it for fun and keep it that way. Because when it turns into a business, it turns into a business.
Yeah.
The fun, and I never lost that fun part with Danger Den, because we were all still working our jobs the whole time through it, and so it was still fun in my hobby. Only I got to build some of the coolest computers out there.
Yes, that's true.
So that is why I did it, is because I really wanted to build cool computers. And I always called it because of my hobby, but it really was a real business, and which is part of why we're not in business no more, is because I think really we all thought of it as our hobby still, and so if it's hard to make a living in this business. It's real hard.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Owen.
Bill Owen, there you are.
Dennis, do you remember when we competed against each other in the NVIDIA Ion contest?
Yeah, I should have won that,
Oh, really?
Because I built it. No, okay, I built it for myself, and I don't want to say I built it for myself, but I took that, and when I built that, I built the bonsai one, and I built it so it would be something that I wanted to see in my living room. But if you look at how old I am, all the people that were looking at our stuff wanted yours, because yours was cool. It really was. I mean, but that's the way I've always built computers and cases and stuff. I built it the way I'd want to see it on my desk. And I'm 56 years old now, and I was older than most of the guys, and so I wanted something different than they did, and so I did.
What I remember, and actually, Gino was going to be in that contest, and he had to drop out for some reason. But I remember that at the time, and this was what I thought was I didn't have any interaction with you, or kind of didn't really know who you were, but I remember during that contest that I gained a lot of respect for you, because I know that you were really busy at the time with other stuff, and they were looking for one other guy that had the resources to build whatever the individual dreamed up. And I just remember it was really cool that you took the time to do that when you were really busy. And I think that those of you who know you, that's really who you are. You're super busy, but you're a nice enough guy that if you've got the time, you'll help out whenever you can, So.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, I did this because it was fun. It was my hobby. I loved doing it. I was also coaching football at the same time. I was working at the mill, running Danger Den, coaching football, and all the other stuff. My life was pretty busy.
Yeah, I've got kids, and so I know that's like. Can one of you guys pull up NVIDIA Bonsai, NVIDIA Ion Bonsai, and see if the Google spiders have been kind, and maybe we can find it somewhere. See what Dennis had built.
It's out there. I've seen it.
Have you? And I like it. You had an argument in why you should have won too, and it was that yours was very eco-friendly. And that was the whole thing behind the Ion. It was a low power consumption, and here you had a bonsai tree growing out of your computer.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see why you won, though, because you look at mine, you look at yours, and you go, okay, who's judging this? All these young guys are looking at that, and they're going, yeah, I see why you won. Yours was cool.
There it is. Awesome.
Well, that's the concept. That was the concept photo.
Modders Inc. is who hosted the contest at the time.
Yeah. There's yours right there. Yeah.
There's your. Okay, so this. All right.
That was the concept. That's not mine right there, though.
I went through the original some of the work log threads for that contest, and the picture links are all broken in the threads. Unless you can dig something up through Google image search.
Right, and that's like something we've been preaching, man. Archive this stuff, because there's going to be guys like us years from now, like, hey, let's go back and pull up that. Remember that? Okay. Yeah. So
I'll keep looking here, but we'll see what comes up.
I think if you type in the NVIDIA Ion contest, I think you'll find it there in the Google search.
Well, how long did you have that computer then, Dennis, after you finished it?
I probably had it for about 6 months, but my buddy Scott Schuff, who owns those light signs, he's still got it in his living room. He loved that thing.
Nice. That's great.
So he's got it.
Yeah, the only problem with that Ion board is that like the memory capacity was pretty small, and I mean you could only grow into it for so long, and until it just kind of
wasn't enough power.
Sweet little board though. Yeah, it had the 10. It had an HD video embedded on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sweet. It's great for a home theater PC.
Right.
Yeah, Zotac. Cool. Is there anybody else that has any questions for Dennis before we close out? Richard, how embarrassing, Richard. Usually we scold people for not having a camera or microphone. I mean, what's the point of being in the Hangout?
Yeah, that would have been fun to have Richard on here. The man
now you can say whatever you want and you can't talk back.
That you do have a rare opportunity here.
Yeah, lay it out.
Oh, look at he's typing. Lol.
Lol.
That's your input, Richard.
Blow up dolls and lol.
Love ooh too.
That's funny.
And how come you're not at PDX Land this weekend? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, what's up with that, Rich?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was really cool, Dennis. I'm glad that we could connect. And like again, I was seriously I was worried that I was starting to annoy you because I kept messaging him over and over.
No, that's a holdover from the Danger Den days. Remember the gals in the office had to fraud me with a cattle fraud to answer those emails.
Yeah.
Tell him to answer my emails. You haven't written me, Richard.
And there's I noticed in Google Images that there is a whole slew of Darth Beavis Danger Den builds. Rich had done several builds with your acrylic cases over the years.
Oh yeah, I used to come up and hang out on the weekends and bring cow meat. I mean horse meat. I mean steaks.
Okay. All right. So this was a great hangout. I loved it. It's like the time flew by super fast. And again, thank you, Dennis, for doing what you did, man, and doing what you do. I mean, you guys really made an impact on this hobby. It was great. I love it.
It was fun.
Alex, Drew, anything else before we close out?
Alex, I defer to you.
Well, I can't really think of much other than I'm glad I could be a little bit of a troublemaker while I was a customer ordering from you guys.
Not a problem. I loved doing it when we were doing it. It was fun.
Oh, even when I asked for 1,000 fittings?
Well, that wasn't my department. I didn't have to worry about that. The gals in the shop, everybody was bugging them, not me.
I just want to throw out that this has been a fantastic hangout because getting to listen to the history, I was there on the forums, at least in Pimprig anyway, and like I said earlier, I got to watch those arguments over the little tiny changes that different people would try to make to get that ultimate cooler out there, and being able to listen to one of the guys that was the inspiration for a lot of those fights. I just want to do one quick share if I can find it again. As we were talking, I was looking at some of the old overclockers.com has a bunch of their old reviews up, and one of these was a great demonstration of exactly how far we've come in
the evolution of the CPU water block.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at how they were casting some of the acrylic over the body, trying to get that watertight seal, and then you have these Shirley Joe's beehives down here on the bottom, and I actually went ahead and I pulled one of those up because we were talking about the interesting methods, and you can just see he just cut a bunch of pins and soldered them down to the block.
This is like moonshining.
That could be a current hobby, That's what Dan and me are doing right now.
And
Just
so
for fun.
Sure. That's cool. That was awesome. Thanks again, Dennis. Drew, close us out, send a message, and Richard says in leaving, make water cooling great again.
all right, folks. So as usual, I'm just going to tell you, you get out there and you find that one thing that's really irritating you. I want you to cut it up, chop it up, remake it into something beautiful that you'll be proud to put in your living room. So basically just get out there and go mod something. Would you guys? Have a good one.